Hello anybody, and thanks for tuning into Monday Morning Handicapping. This is a Pedigree playlist where I'm going to be taking a look at one of the relatively newer stallions in the racehorsing scene, try to get a glimpse of what their offspring like to do best on the racetrack, and the stallion that I'm going to be covering today is a horse named McKinzie. Just some agenda and caveats before we get started. I'm currently selecting the top freshman sires of 2024. This is for the sake of recency. Not a lot is known about some of these newer sires, so I'm trying to catch some sort of pattern before the rest of the general betting public does. I'm going to review McKinzie's racing career, look at some of the distances he's excelled at, the surfaces, and some major wins. We'll review my Google Sheets document of the top 50 earners by McKinzie. We're not looking at all the runners, but just the top 50 earners that he's produced thus far. This file will be included in the description below the video. I'm going to review McKinzie's stud career, their first win, their age of their first win, the distance they won at, the surface they won on, and the progressions after their first win. Where did they get their latest win? And this is relevant because these metrics are used by owners before spending thousands and sometimes millions of dollars before buying a horse to race and or eventually breed. So taking a look at McKinzie's racing career, first of all, he was sired or fathered by a horse named Street Sense. McKinzie's dam or mother was a horse named Runway Model, and the dam sire or the father of the mother of McKinzie, so the grandfather on the mother side basically, is a horse named Peshinville. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. McKinzie was born in 2015 and raced from 2017 through 2020. He was purchased at auction in 2016 for $170,000. McKinzie had 18 career starts, 8 wins, 6 seconds, and no thirds, and earned $3.4 million in his career, including 4 Grade 1 wins. And a Grade 1 is the highest class, highest level of racing. All the best horses run in Grade 1 races, and he won 4 of those races. McKinzie won his debut race going 7 furlongs on the dirt at Santa Anita Park. He has wins at 7 furlongs, 8 furlongs, 8.5 furlongs, and 9 furlongs, which were all on dirt. And remember, 1 furlong equals 1/8 of a mile, so an 8 furlong race is 1 mile. 8.5 furlongs is a mile and a 1/16, and so on. McKinzie's sire was a multiple Grade 1 winner, including the 2007 Kentucky Derby. The dam or mother of McKinzie was a multiple Grade 2 winner, so just a step below the Grade 1 level. The dam sire, the father of the mother of McKinzie, was a Grade 2 winner and multiple Grade 3 winner. And McKinzie also ran 5th behind the winner Vekoma in the 2020 Metropolitan Stakes at Belmont Park. And Vekoma was the horse that I covered in my last video in the Pedigree playlist, who was the freshman sire champion the same year that McKinzie was up for that award. But Vekoma beat him out and actually beat him in a race. So taking a look at McKinzie's stud career, he commands a $75,000 stud fee. He's standing at Gainesway Farm in Kentucky. He was the runner-up for champion freshman sire of 2024, losing to Vekoma, again, who I covered in my last Pedigree playlist video. His first crop of 2-year-olds sold for up to $750,000. His second crop of 2-year-olds sold for up to $950,000. He was also the leading freshman sire of 2024 by Grade 1 winners. And now before we get into his runners, I want to take a look at my Google Sheet where I broke down all the information regarding his progeny, as well as where you can find the pedigree information on the racing form. So this file will be included in the description below, like I mentioned. If you look at the bottom, I have the information for Vekoma, but we're taking a look at McKinzie today. On the left, in this column here, we have his top 50 earning progeny. So these are the names of the horses here in bold. This column here are their current records. So Baeza has 6 career starts, 1 win, 2 seconds, and 2/3. Over here in this entire section, we have their first career win, some information on that. So how many starts did it take each horse to get their first win? So for Baeza, he won his first race in his 3rd start. He was the age of 3 at the time in the 2nd month. So he got his first win in his 3rd start at the age of 3 in February, going a distance of 8 furlongs, so 1 mile on the dirt at Santa Anita. Over in the right area, we have the most recent win. So whether they have 2 or 5 wins, this is just the most recent win, so that we can sort of gauge where these horses are being aimed at, which types of races, what types of distances and surface. So Baeza hasn't won since, but Chancer McPatrick has 3 wins. His most recent win was in start number 3 at the age of 2 in the 10th month, so October, going a distance of 8 furlongs, 1 mile on the dirt at Aqueduct. If we compare that to his first win, which was in start number 1 at the age of 2 in the 7th month, so July, going 6.5 furlongs on dirt, it looks like this horse eventually is wanting to stretch out to longer distances. Went from 6.5 in his first win to 8 furlongs in its most recent win, so that just tells me where they're probably aiming this horse. And in the right column, far right in the bold, we have the dam sire, the father of the mother of each of these horses, what their names are, and this way we can get a sense of who's winning very early, who wants longer distances, who wants shorter distances, who wants to win on the turf, and so on, just to get a better sense of the breeding, which will come in handy in some of those races where some horses are making their first start or don't have many starts under their belt, so you don't have a lot of information to go off of. So the pedigree angle comes in handy, especially when trying a new distance or a new surface for the first time, let alone just their first ever career race. And now I want to show everyone where you can find the breeding information in your racing form. So your racing form is going to look like this. Here's number 1, a horse named Sexy. The sire or father of Sexy is McKinzie, the horse we're covering today. In parentheses, you see Street Sense, so that's the sire of McKinzie. So the grandfather on the father side of this horse is Street Sense. The dam here, the mother of Sexy, Unobstructed View is her name, but the sire of Unobstructed View, her father was a horse named Yes It's True. So look up here for some of those names, especially when you compare them to my Google Sheets document that I'm including. See which horses won early and see if they match up with any horses that haven't made many starts, if any starts at all. So this horse is making its 4th start. We can use the information about McKinzie to see if this horse is doing something it likes for the first time, which would be in this case 1 mile on the dirt. So you're welcome to go look at that Google Sheets document all you want, but here's what I broke down regarding McKinzie's progeny and their first win. 34 of his top 50 earners have a win. 10 of the 34 winners, 29%, won their debut race or their first ever race. Average starts before their first win, 2.8 starts. That's for all of the 34 horses with the win so far. Took about 2.8 starts. If the horses got their first start and they were 2 years old, it took about 2.3 starts around late September. And remember, 2-year-old races overall begin in late spring or early summer. So you're not going to see early in the year winners for 2-year-olds. They just don't race that early, so I would expect to see it in the summer or fall at some time. If the horses were 3 years old, it took about 3.4 starts to get their first win, and that typically occurred around early March. The average distance of the first win for all those 34 runners with the win was 7 furlongs. If the horses were 2-year-old, it averaged 7.1 furlongs. There's not many route races early on for 2-year-olds. Most of the races are sprint races. So just the fact that it's 7 furlongs tells me that these are longer sprints, so maybe McKinzie horses will relish the longer distance more so. If the horse was 3 years old when they got their first win, the average distance was 7 furlongs, so that's in line with the 2-year-old first wins. Their first wins for all 34 runners, a sprint race, so under 8 furlongs, under 1 mile. 62% of their first wins were sprints. First win routing, 38%, going a mile or more. The first win surface, what kind of surface did they get their first wins on? 79% of their first wins were on dirt, 12% of the wins were on turf, and 9% were on synthetic or all-weather surface. McKinzie progeny, their latest win, so after their first win, whether it's their second, third, or fourth, their latest win, this is to get a sense of the progression of each horse, where they're going to want to go, where the trainers think they're going to do their best running. 10 of 50 of McKinzie's top 50 earners have more than one win, which is 20%. The average distance of most recent win was 7.4 furlongs versus 7 furlongs on their initial win. So stretching out just a little bit, about a half a furlong or a 16th of a mile. Most recent win sprinting is 40% versus 62% maiden win, so that's dropping, telling me more of these horses are going to longer distances, route races, because their first win was sprinting at 62% clip, their most recent win now down to 40. Most recent win routing, so 8 furlongs or 1 mile or more, was 60% versus 40% getting their maiden win, which is a horse's first win. So definitely seems like the McKinzies want to go a further distance of ground. McKinzie progeny seem to be best suited for longer distances, even early in their careers. Most recent win surface, so not their first win, but their most recent win, dirt 90% versus 79% regarding their maiden win, and maiden win again is their first ever win. Turf 10% down from 12% in their maiden win. Synthetic 0% down from 9% in their maiden win. McKinzie progeny seemed to gravitate towards the dirt surface. His progeny seemed to like route races and had a significant portion of their success on the dirt. Looking at McKinzie dam sires, so some of the dam sires that won on debut, again, these are the fathers of the mother of the McKinzie sired horses. What dam sires produce horses that won on their debut? Bernardini, 6.5 furlongs on the dirt. Tail of the Cat, 5.5 furlongs on the dirt. Yankee Gentleman on debut. Broken Bow, Painter, Into Mischief, Blame, Midnight Loot, and Tap It. So if you go back at your racing form and look at a horse sired by McKinzie and the dam sire is one of these horses, and the horse is making their first or second start, that might indicate that the horse is a little bit precocious or just might excel early on in their career. Dam sires were not their first win, but their last win was sprinting. Will Take Charge, Stormy Atlantic, Midnight Loot, and Tap It. So whether or not their first win was a route or a sprint, their most recent win was sprinting. So dam sires, Will Take Charge, Stormy Atlantic, Midnight Loot, or Tap It do excel at sprinting as they get a little bit older, have some speed, don't need to go a longer distance. Dam sires who had their last win routing, so going a mile or more: Bernardini, Mineshaft, Dominus, Into Mischief, to Wildcat, or Yankee Gentleman. So if you're looking at a racing form and there's a horse sired by McKinzie and the dam sire is one of these horses, and the horse has only run in sprint races but is now trying a route going a mile or more, and the dam sire is one of these horses, that horse may take to that distance just fine. The dam sire Tail of the Cat produced first out winners for both Vekoma and McKinzie, the two horses I've covered so far. So if you see a horse sired by McKinzie or Vekoma and whose dam sire is Tail of the Cat, that might indicate that the horse can win first time out, is a precocious horse. 3 of the 10 top 50 earners with more than one win have won their most recent start at a shorter distance than their maiden win. I believe 100% of the Vekoma horses that had more than one win went the same or further distance in their latest win, but 3 of the 10 went to a shorter distance for McKinzie sired horses. 4 of the 10 top 50 earners with more than one win have won their most recent start, stretching out from a sprint to a route. So a little bit of volatility here. Some of the McKinzies are sticking with sprinting and doing just fine. Some of them are stretching out and doing just fine. I just want to show everybody, if you click down on the sum tab at the bottom in the file I've included, we can compare Vekoma runners with McKinzies. I have the average starts it took for each of their offspring to get their first win, the average starts for their first win if they were 2 years old, the average month they got their first win as a 2-year-old, average starts first win 3-year-olds, average month for a 3-year-old if it was their first win on dirt percent, about the same, last win on dirt. McKinzies are getting more wins on their dirt percentage-wise than Vekomas. First win on turf, about the same. Last win on turf. Vekomas going to the turf a little bit more than McKinzies. First win on synthetic, a few more for McKinzie percentage-wise, but last win, plenty more for Vekoma with 0 for McKinzie. Was their first win sprinting? Percentages here. Was their last win or most recent win sprinting? Percentages here. You can see the drop by McKinzie and the drop by Vekoma. First win routing, 16% for Vekoma with 38% for McKinzie. Their most recent or last win routing, 32% for Vekoma with 60% for McKinzie. So both went up, but much more for McKinzie routing in both aspects, whether it's their first win or their last win. Debut winners overall, so first time hitting the racetrack, did they win their race? 42% of the top 50 earners for Vekoma won first time out, only 29% for McKinzie. Total winners of those top 50 earners, all of Vekoma's top 50 earners have won a race so far, whereas only 66% of McKinzie top earners have won a race so far, and multiple winners, so won their first race, have they won another? 44% of Vekoma runners have more than one win, whereas only 20% of McKinzie runners have more than one win out of those top 50 earners on the list, which you can see again down in the tabs here. So just some final thoughts. Well-bred horses sired by McKinzie get their first win in an average of 2.8 starts. Look on the bottom side, which is known as the dam side. Look at the pedigree from the mother side of each horse of McKinzie sired horses for talent. You might have to go to equibase.com and look up the mother of the horse and see what kind of races she ran in, as well as the dam sires, where they excelled and where they did their best running. Also, you can look at the ownership, the trainer, or the purchase price. If there's an ownership group that spent a lot of money on the horse, that might be a good indicator that they think much of the horse and think that it can win early and often. Also, good horses go to good trainers to really get the most out of the horses. I'll show you where you can find that information now. So if you look right here, TR is the trainer. You can just get a general sense of how talented they are. 18% winner, 22% over the entire year. You can look at the ownership group here right under the horse's name, tells you who owns it. And if you look up top here, it'll tell you how much this horse was purchased for. This horse was purchased for $60,000. And down here is the stud fee that I mentioned earlier of McKinzie. McKinzie sired horses tend to prefer the dirt surface from debut and as they progress. McKinzie sired horses seem to prefer longer distances from debut and as they progress. McKinzie sired horses feel to me a bit more volatile than Vekoma, seemingly a bit more boom or bust as they don't win as often. There seems to be a bigger chasm between the top McKinzie sired horses and the others, especially when compared to Vekoma, who seems to really pass on a strong knack for winning races throughout all of his offspring. The top McKinzie horses are good and really good, and some of the other ones, like I mentioned, only 33 I think of the top 50 earners even have a win yet. So McKinsie's just overall feel a little more boom or bust. These are young stallions, so of course we want to see more information as more runners come out, but it's a good starting point just to see where the McKinzie runners have a knack for winning and running well. That's it for McKinzie. Thanks to everybody for watching. I hope you got some useful information about it. Any feedback is appreciated, whether positive, negative, suggestions, or recommendations. I'm open to all of it. Please like, subscribe, and or share with friends. My target audience is for folks that are relatively new to the sport, so if you know anyone that is interested in the sport or just doesn't know a whole lot, I have a couple of playlists that I hope will get them started. One is How to Read a Racing Form, where I break down all the components of the racing form into bite-sized, easily digestible pieces so that everyone can understand. From my experience, I've taken friends to the racetrack before, and when I show them the racing form, it's just a little overwhelming and daunting. They don't really want to get into all the information, but I always tell them that the racing form is there to help the player make an informed decision on how you think the race is going to be run and who you think will win. So I break it down real simply in hopes that everyone can understand it a little bit better and make decisions for themselves rather than relying on other people. And I also have another playlist, Betting on Horse Racing. That's where I break down each of the wagers typically offered at a racetrack, talk about what it is, how to place it, what it's going to cost you, based on how you structure your ticket, and a few things that I look for before structuring my own tickets and how I might structure a basic ticket based on who I like in a day's race card. So those are two playlists that I hope will get some newcomers off the ground and get more comfortable with the entire process. Coming up next, I might start working on another Pedigree from 2024. I really like these videos. It really actually worked out when I was playing Santa Anita over this last weekend when a horse that was by Vekoma had a dam sire of Bellamy Road. I found another horse that was making their second start by Bellamy Road, and that produced a first out winner for Vekoma. And so I thought that maybe Bellamy Road horses, even on the dam sire side, are a bit precocious. Maybe it can win early. It ended up winning. It was 8-5 odds, so not great value, but the horse did win. It ran well, so it was really great to see some of this research just pay off a little bit. It's a deep dive getting into the pedigree of things, so you got to start somewhere, and I hope that some of this information is just useful for anyone who's watching as well as myself. So I'll probably do another pedigree video soon. I just kind of enjoy it. There's a lot to get into, but breaking it down really helps. And I might start mapping out the Haskell Stakes coming up in about a month. It's a really big race for 3-year-olds, so we've been watching a lot of these 3-year-olds in my videos and just throughout the year, and so we're pretty familiar with them, and I want to break down the Haskell because it's going to be a popular race, and if we can find an angle and go against the betting favorite, that's always useful. Get some good odds and just see what we think is going to shake out in the Haskell coming up. But that's it for McKinzie. Thanks everybody for watching. Please let me know what you think. Any suggestions, recommendations, I would really appreciate it. But thanks again for everyone watching, and I will see you next time.